Hello, everyone. Welcome to Inside Out with Sahas and Ali. We talk about mental health, belief systems, mindset, and push you to ask more whys to help you find the genius inside of you. Yes, I said genius because you are one. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Jared Hope. Jared is a founder and a CEO of Tilt Property Group and has closed nearly 500 properties. And he's a former pro hockey player and a coach. In his life, he has faced many hardships, including almost going bankrupt, losing his business, fighting addiction, and nearly getting divorced. Yet he bounced back better than before and he decided to get a life coach to deal directly with his struggles and transform his life entirely. He is now a new man with extreme passion and mindfulness. And I'm so honored and so happy to introduce you to all, Jared Hope. Jared, thank you so much for coming in today.
Geez, that might have been the best. That might have been the best intro I've ever had. But
really awesome.
Yeah, dude, you guys did some homework. Good for you guys.
I'll tell you the psychology behind why we do this, because we don't want you to be repeating this anymore. We already know, because this is what we want to give to the people that, talking about all your life journey in entirely, but we want to go under the surface level and talk more about like how your journey was while you have accomplished so many things. So that was the whole plan when we do any kind of an intro for our show.
Yeah, that was rad. Good for you guys.
Thank you.
Well, I'm excited to be here. So let's fucking hit this hard. I swear. So you better be okay with that.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yes.
we do that all the time. That's not a problem.
We had Mark on the show a while ago. Yeah. And that guy swears like a motherfucker. It's so bad.
No one swears more than Mark Smith. And
right.
Yeah. Like that guy is so rad, man. I love it.
Yeah.
Like there's I've read articles before where these articles will say, swearing is actually a sign of intelligence.
I see the same one. That's so true.
Like look at Tony Robbins. Like Tony Robbins, he's so strategic when he throws the F-bomb out, and he's doing it to get a rise out of people, and and it's strategic. And even when I swear, it's all strategic. It's not, it's I'm not a dumb guy. Like, I'm a really smart guy. And some people take swearing as a sign of stupidity when really it's just a word, man. Like it's just a word in the vocabulary. That's it.
I've also noticed that it means that you're being really honest in that moment. Totally. If you have some emotions pent up and you're saying something that other people find offensive, you're just being open and honest. And sometimes people can't handle that, I've noticed. So they gotta dumb you down to their level, which is
like that is that's man, I've always been as honest as I possibly can be. Like, that's just the only way to be. And but I've learned over the years to soften the approach, because you can be honest and not be a dick. You can be a dick and be honest. So I'm trying to be this sincere, honest, compassionate, conscious human when I give my sharp feedback.
Right.
And there's a subtle way to give feedback that doesn't, come off that I'm a dick.
Exactly. And you also mentioned that in Mark's podcast is how to not be a douche, yet be successful. And that's so true. Like, true. Anyone can be a douche if you get money, but it takes balls to actually hold that in and really consider somebody else's perception and opinion.
Yeah. And that's ego, right? That's ego that kind of drives most people. And most people get a little bit of success, or they want the success, and it's their ego driving it, but they actually really haven't done any work on them. Like, we made our big changes in 2015 when we finally realized that you can have all the money in the world and be a slime ball, and that wasn't our mission. That's not who we wanted to be. So in 2015 we started doing a lot of personal development. And like diving deep into the source of why we do things the way we do. My wife and I. And because at the end of the day, in order for us to have, what we call a fuck yeah life. So I got these cups made up for our coaching program.
Nice.
Yeah, they're rad. But so we're trying to come up with this saying and this slogan for our coaching. And first of all, I think slogans are stupid. I think sayings are stupid. I think they're all stupid, because there's no truth behind them. But the truth for us is, like, we want you to have like today on this podcast, I want you to have a fuck yeah experience. I want all of your listeners to have a fuck yeah experience, so that's why I'll give you everything I got. I'll blow your audience away. I'll blow you guys away as much as I possibly can. And I'm going to take this, I'm going to package it up for you guys, and I'm going to show you how to market it. Like it's all about being a fuck yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's what we realized back in 2015. And that's when our big shift really happened.
Right. I've noticed something else been watching you for a bit is that you just love giving value in everything you do. And I'm not just saying that for this, but like just your website, the stuff you're putting out, your services, you go in with a mindset to not just crush, but make sure it's a win-win for everyone. And that honestly, it translates to so many things in life, no matter what you do.
Yeah, you know, like back in the day, I was taught differently. Like I used to go up on stages with people for organizations, and you know, and I'd come off stage and they'd be like, you know, you're telling too much. Like don't share so much information. Like that's yours. Keep it to yourself. And you only give them a little bit, and then they'll come want more, and then they'll hire me and they'll pay me to do stuff and so on and so on. So I did that for a number of years, and what I realized is that doesn't work. And because it might work for some people, but for me it didn't work because, you know, like as you'll see on this podcast, like I'll share stories, I'll share content, I'll tell you everything I've ever done, I'll tell you every fuck up I've ever made, I'll tell you the corrections, I'll tell you everything, because I want everyone to have a fuck yeah life.
Yeah.
Like this fuck yeah expression, or this fuck yeah saying, this fuck yeah tagline, whatever you want to call it, has been around with Chris and I for years. And so we finally, you know, back to my stage days is when I got off the stage. I finally said, you know, that's not how this goes. I need to be telling everyone everything. And so, you know, Gary V he'll be the first one to say is, you know, you share everything. Yeah. And so what I've realized is by sharing everything with everyone all the time, what I'm doing is I'm continuing to give, you know, one, knowledge, but also indirectly I'm giving the viewer, the listeners, so much confidence that I know what I'm doing, so that they want to go try it themselves. And if they have success, great, that's awesome. But if they don't have success, then they'll always come back to me. I'm actually getting more business by sharing everything I possibly know than I ever have by keeping the information. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it builds trust in a brand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally believe that. Like what you talked about, like sharing more, like not, you know, hiding away and keeping to yourself. This is what I even talk about more, like whenever you are, you know, producing content, giving value, like whatever, you know. How would you expect somebody to even work with you if you are just, you know, putting barriers or saying that, you know, I'm just going to share this much and not further beyond? And that's how
you know,
they learn.
Yeah, so, you know, and I'll give you an example, like, you know, my coaching program, and I'm not going to do any plugs about the coaching program at all, but, you know, my coaching program, I only work with 10 to 12 clients a year. And what I've come to realize is there's programs out there that want to work with the masses. And the reality is the bigger your group is, the harder it is to intimately touch them. And, you know, and change their lives and change their direction and make it a fuck yeah for them. The people who do the masses, the big rooms, the selling the $400-$500 workshops for weekends, like that, they're turning a business, which is totally cool, and I understand that. And you know, so when before we work with a client, even my property management business, to this day, I do all the sales calls for my property management business. We manage 600 properties. I got 20 full-time staff. You know, I got trades, I got all this team. And to this day, I still do all the sales calls. And every time I call a client, whether it's a coaching client or a property management client, or someone who wants to buy a house and wants to use one of my realtors, they're always like, why are you calling me? And I'm like, because I don't work with just anybody. I want to make sure that you're a fit for us. We're a fit for you. I can hold up to any expectations that you got. You're going to honor any expectations that I got. So I take my time screening the people, which builds relationship, which increases trust levels, which also increases the likelihood of them calling me if there's ever a problem, which I can resolve anything. So I'm kind of in control of everything that way. So back to your question, you know, I don't work with everybody. There are people who, I get coaching clients all the time emailing me, or people who want to do coaching, and they're like, I want to be rich in real estate. I want to have success. I want this. I want to leave my job in 5 years. But then you call them up and they don't actually want to do the work. You know, they're looking for the free ride. They're looking for the magic pill. They're looking for, you know, the get rich quick. And that's not life. There's no such thing as get rich quick. You want to get rich quick, win the lottery, but within 5 years you'll lose it because you're a douche. You're just, you know, you're the same person with money, and you haven't evolved to take the money. So which means you're a money with douche, or sorry, you're the money in being a douche.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, so the truth is you can't help everybody. That's the truth. And you know, it's like everyone says, remember back in the day, you guys are younger than I am, but back in the day, there was the book called The Secret.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Read it.
Right. So back in 2005, 2006 or something like that, The Secret comes out, this book. And there were people all over the world. And specifically in the events I was at, people would stand up on chairs and, I'm going to be rich. I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to have all the sex I want. I'm. And they were standing up on chairs and shouting it on top of the mountains, which was awesome. But what they were failing to understand is you actually had to perform you just couldn't say it. Saying it was part of it for sure, but then you have to believe it. And then you have to take actions to achieve it. And you can take actions, but if you don't believe it, you'll never get the result. If you believe it, but don't take actions, you'll never get the result. So people have a hard time blending the actions and the mindset together, which prevents most people from getting results.
And it's easy also, right? Just saying that, you know, if just by saying out loud, if I'm getting what I want, why don't I just do that? Action is the hard part.
Well, it's the start that stops most people from anything. You know, it's like, I want to lose 10 pounds. I'm overweight. I want to lose 35 pounds, but I never go to the gym. What the fuck? And I don't stop eating McDonald's. Like, that'll never fucking happen.
Yeah.
You know, it's because it's a dichotomy. You know, it's like, I want to lose weight, but I don't want to work out. It's a dichotomy. And most people I find are stuck in a dichotomy. I want to be wealthy, but I don't want to do the work. I'm scared. That's cool. That's why you need a coach. You know, and my coaching style is one of like, I'll fluff your hair for so long. I'll pat you on the bum for so long. But if you're not taking action, it's like, fucking Ali, what the fuck are you doing? Like, let's go. Like, go do this. And I'll actually dummy it down to very simple action steps that over time of doing those little action steps start creating confidence. Yeah. Once you start creating confidence, more action steps are achievable, which builds more confidence, which gets results.
So like exactly whatever you just said about, like, you know, it somewhere relates to the concept of minimal viable audience as well. What it says is that, you know, like a lot of people want 10,000 followers, 100,000 followers, 1 million followers. But I go back to them and I say, how many followers do you really have right now? They say like 300. How many of them are you engaging with on a regular basis? Even if you want, why do you think if you are not interacting, adding value in their lives of those 300 out of this, or even 10 followers, then why do you think that having more followers are going to get you more business?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. People are just wanting to go ahead, but not without doing the work. All without doing the work.
Well, dude, like if someone wants followers, I watched a show the other day called Fake Famous. And it was on HBO. It was an HBO special. They took 3 people, just random Joe Blow people. They interviewed 4,000 people in California. They interviewed 4,000 random people. They took 3 average Joes, 2 guys and a gal, and they made them famous. All fake. They bought them followers. They bought them likes. They bought them comments. They did fake pictures in fake airplanes. They did fake pictures or real pictures in fake pools. Fake. So then they built up this persona. Like all of a sudden they had 32,000 followers, 100,000 followers, so on and so on. And you know, one lady had tons of success. One guy, it blew him up internally. He wasn't able to handle it. Another guy just started deleting. It was a crazy show. I highly recommend watching it. But the point of the story, that's all ego. And you know, because it's like they want to be famous, they want to be liked, they want to be loved. When the truth is, just go impact the people that you can touch. Absolutely. And if you do it well enough, word will spread. Like I do no marketing for my coaching program. I do very little marketing for my property management program. And I get emails from people all the time from podcasts and stuff like that. They're like, oh my God, like I want to do business with you. I speak the truth. I'm conscious. I'm kind. I'm loving. I'm smart with business. I know how to make money. I'm not going to let you fuck up. I'll always tell you the truth. in a nice way. And if you can't hear it, I'll be a little bit more stern with you. So it's authentic. It's an authentic way of being that attracts people, I think.
Right.
So it's not about followers, it's not about followers at all. It's about how you show up, and people are attracted to that or not.
Exactly.
And showing
And,
up consistently.
Sorry, Sas?
I'm saying showing up consistently is what is really important.
Well, it's not even the consistency is sure, but it's authentic. Like if you're authentic, every time you're consistent.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you're not authentic, you have inconsistencies on how you show up. Go watch 1,000 of my YouTube shows and podcasts. Not that I have 1,000, but if you were to go watch 1,000 of my lives and my podcasts and my YouTubes, and my truth is, I am the same fucking person every fucking time. So it's not about being consistent. It's about being authentic. If you're authentic with who you are and you're living within the values of who you want to be seen as, it doesn't matter where you are. The mistake I used to make, and I know you have something to say, but the mistake I used to make is I would go stand on a stage of 500-600 people, and I would be this person. And then afterwards I'd get off stage and I'd talk to 300 people, and I'd be this person. And then afterwards would go for drinks with 10 people, and I'd be a different person. And then I'd come home to my wife and I'd be this person. And then I was with my kids and I was as this person. I was with my buddies and I was this person. I had so many fucking hats on. It was so confusing. Who was I?
Mm-hmm.
So which is a mind fuck. You want to talk about mental health? That's a total mind fuck. Living a life for others, living a life of what you think other people want you to be. Fuck that. Just live the life that you want to be and let others kind of fall in place. And if they don't like it, they'll leave.
Yeah, absolutely. What I really wanted to touch upon is, because what you said about authenticity, that is the real definition of it. But a lot of people misjudge that definition a lot, because what they believe is authenticity means, whatever the fuck that I want. In a way, let's say if you go to a barber and the barber says that, you had an appointment with the barber, and the barber says, I can't do it today because I had a fight with my spouse and I don't want to do it. I'm just being authentic to you. I don't want to. But what you as a customer would be expecting out of him is to do the fucking job, because this is what you are supposed to do. And a lot of people take authenticness in a certain way that, saying no to things that they are supposed not to say, that is also a part of authenticness.
Yeah, I would maybe, here's the thing, for me, being authentic is living within your core values. If you're always living within your core values, you're authentic. And I'll give you some examples. So my core values are loyalty, ownership, freedom, and truth. Loft.
Okay.
And so I'm always loyal. All my clients, I got their back. My wife, I got her back. My kids got their back. Anyone who's loyal to me, I'm back. I'm uber loyal. I want everyone to have a sense of ownership in my life. Everyone I talk to, I want them to have pride of ownership, a sense of ownership of everything they do. And I teach that to my kids, for example. Freedom. I want everyone to be free to live a life of pleasure, live a life of love, live a life of what exotic shit, whatever it is that they want. I want them to be freedom. And then truth. I commit to speaking the truth all the time. So for example, I have this old client 3 years ago. He comes to us at Tilt, and he's from Vancouver, and he comes to us and he's like, I want to buy a house. So, okay, great. So we go find a house, and he's like, I want the cheapest fucking house in the city. And I'm like, dude, do not do that. That is a huge mistake. Anyways, he goes and buys this piece of shit house for $305,000, puts some work into it, cheaps out on the work. I told him not to cheap out. It turns out that he ends up firing us. So he comes back and he ends up firing us from the property management of the property. We ended up renting it out. He fires us. So I'm like, whatever, it is what it is, whatever. 3 years later, 3 days ago, I get a text from this guy. Yeah. So I see he called me. I ignored the call. He sent me a text. He's like, hey, it's so-and-so. I need to talk to you. So I sent him a text back. I'm like, hey, I'm busy, which I wasn't, but I don't know what this is about. So I'm like, hey, I'm busy. What's going on? And he's like, well, I'm having some problems with that house. And he's like, I need to get out. So I called him up. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Well, I hired this management company. They were cheaper, They screwed it up. I have this tenant, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, make a to make a long story short, or as short as I possibly can, I end up having this conversation with the guy, I call him on the phone. And then after I talk to him on the phone, I tell him what to do, how to solve it, hang up the phone, and I message him back within 5 minutes. I said, listen, I would love to take this on. I would love to help you out, but this doesn't align with my values. I need to back out because you're not going to listen to me. And I said, you're a good dude. I wish you well. I can refer you to somebody, but if I take this on, it's going to be a mind fuck for me because I can get you out of it, but you're not going to listen. And you obviously want to do it your way, which is totally cool. It's your business. You can do what you want, but it doesn't align with me. So I turned down we probably would have made $18,000 in commission. We probably would have made $25,000-$30,000 in renovations. You know, I walked away from like 50-55 grand probably. It just didn't align with me. And so that is freedom, because I want him to be free because I don't want to be part of that. That's truth. That's a sense of ownership. And I'm still being loyal. You know, so back to your barber's example. And yeah, he's telling him the truth, but he's also providing a service. You know, like there is this part where, hey, I'm here to get a fucking haircut, cut my fucking hair. I get life shows up. Yes. I get that. So that's a different scenario where personally, I think the barber should cut the fucking hair.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like you're in a service business, suck it up, cut the fucking hair, go home and fix your fucking problem. But your problem is not the problem. It's you're not able to deal with it in the moment because you don't have the proper stuff in place to be able to say, hey, this isn't going to affect my job.
Yeah.
But most people let their personal shit that's happening, which is all real, by the way, impact their day-to-day lives at work.
Yeah. And
I see it all the time with staff. I see it all the time with people. Like they all the external things that are happening are impacting their day-to-day lives. And it doesn't make sense to me. It shouldn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you, like, when did you get that kind of understanding that, like you talked about your core values, you obviously had you had to dig deep into your understanding, like what are your core values? When did you have that kind of envision, or like that this is what you wanted to actually get back into and then start?
So funny enough, it was 2017. So we were in a transition where I had a company called LLR Canada, Landlord Resource Center, which was like the first version of Tilt, well, the second version of Tilt. So there was Landlord Rescue, then it turned to LLR Canada, then it turned into Tilt. So in 2015, this is a mistake I think lots of people make, is they try to do it for free. They try to do it themselves, or they think they have it handled. I was one of them, guys. I was one of those people. And in 2017, I just bought my partner out of LLR, and we're in this transition where I didn't really like LLR anymore, the name. And so we hired a branding company called Wow Branding out of Vancouver. And the owner, his name's Dan, lights out dude. And he sat with Krista and I, and he's like, well, who are you? What's your core values? Because most people think that they spend all this time building their business, and then what happens, not what they think, but what happens is these people become a reflection of their business, when really your business should be a reflection of who you are as a person. And I didn't know that. So my business, I became Jared Hope, the property manager. I became Jared Hope, who owns LLR. I became Jared Hope of LLR, real estate investor, and all this other shit. So we sat with Dan, man, he wouldn't work with us until we got our core values lined up. This is a branding guy. Like, I was willing to pay $60,000-$70,000 just for him to create me a website. Because I went in there, I'm like, I need a website, I need a cool logo, I need stickers for my car, I need business cards, I need banners. And he sat with us, he's like, yeah, I get all that. Who are you? Because your branding needs to be reflecting who you are and what your values are. So now all of our branding, all of our marketing, it's all around LOFT: loyalty, ownership, freedom, and truth. We hire based off of loyalty, ownership, freedom, and truth. All of my staff have to buy into loyalty, ownership, freedom, and truth. Their values don't have to be loyalty, ownership, freedom, and truth, but they have to understand my core values are that. And they have to be able to live those core values within my company. And if they can't work for me. So it was 2017 when I met with Dan at this branding company to restructure my company, to rebrand my company. It was the best fucking experience I've ever had in my life. I've always had core values. I just never knew that. So I didn't know that me being harsh and saying the truth to somebody was a truth value of mine. But internally, I just knew it was right. I've always been crazy loyal to friends and family and people who, are loyal back to me. And, anyone who has my back, I got theirs twice as much. I've always lived them, but there was no word on it. There was no clear, structure around it. There was no definition around it. So I was living very vague, like I was diving in and out of it, which led to alcohol, which led to fucking, partying, which led to ego, which led to, because I didn't really understand what my core values were. Right. So 2017 was a big year.
So following up on that question with Sahas, I wanted to kind of ask about core values. Throwback, growing up as a kid and the environment you were brought up, the family you had, the friends, the school, was thinking back, do you think growing up with the family and everything around you that impacted your core values to who you are now? Or what do you think triggered you to be the person you are now?
Yeah, well, so first of all, you become who you are because of your parents. You either become your parents or you do everything you can to not become your parents. But ultimately, you end up being your parents. Like that's everyone's fucking path is like that. It doesn't have to be like that, but that's just the normal pattern that people go through. Like people learn to love from watching their parents love. People learn to fight from watching their parents fight. People become teachers because their parents are a teacher. People become an accountant because their dad's accountant. People don't read books because they have never seen their dad read books. People play hockey because they've seen their dad play hockey or mom. And the reality is, you are who you are because you're mom and dad, and you either choose to be them or you choose not to be them. But either way, they're the North Star. So as a kid, I had a fucked up brother like this. I haven't talked to my brother in, it could easily be 15 years. And so as a kid, my brother did crime. He was in and out of jail. He was just a bad fucking dude. And to this day, I don't know what he did. I have no idea. I've always grown up thinking he's like, I don't know who this guy is. Like, he'll never be my friend. And just because we're born in the same family doesn't mean I have to like him. And I have a little sister who's rad. She's super cool. We're super tight. But growing up as a kid, I watched my parents love him to death. Like my mom and dad did a great job raising me. They did the best they possibly could with the resources they were taught by their parents, right? And I watched my brother always got the conversation at the dinner table. He was never there. He was always in jail. But it was always like, Aaron this, Aaron that. Oh my God, Aaron's changing. Oh my God, Aaron had court today and he's really turned the corner. And so as a young kid, I realized that there's two ways to get attention. One is to do crime, because obviously crime gets talked about in everyone's house because people love drama. People love the story. People love that shit, right? And so I'm like, yeah, I'm not interested in crime because I see what he's going through and he's always in jail. So I'm not doing crime. So what I did is I didn't realize this, obviously, when I was 5 years old or later, was I became the best at everything. I became the best athlete. I became the best hockey player. I became the best soccer player. I became the best at track. I became the best. And, so what I learned as a kid was ego. That was my ego driving it. Like I wanted love. Yeah. And the only way to get love was to be the best. So I got talked about over is either be the best or be the worst. And, so as a young kid, I started creating these skills or these feelings of, loyalty because, I wanted someone to be loyal to me. So it was almost created from like this sense of not having, so now when someone like a staff member, they come into my office and they work like motherfuckers, I'll bend over backwards for them because that's like part of my family. So I want for a family member, like freedom. Or truth. No one was ever telling the truth in my house. Like everyone was always little white lies. Oh, little white lie. I'm like, a white lie's a lie. A lie's a lie. I don't give a fuck what it is. Yeah. It's like anything. Like, what'd you pay for those pants? And it was $19.99 when really they're like $59.99. Say $59.99. What the fuck?
Yeah.
But we were taught something different as kids, and not it's not right or wrong. It's my parents did the best they possibly could with the information that they had. And we look at the world that we're in now, like we can pick up a phone and find anything. That's my wife. We can pick up a phone and find anything in the blink of an eye. Back in the day, my parents, they never had that luxury. Back in the day, it was almost frowned upon to go get help on yourself or seek advice and counseling. Whereas nowadays you can just go find a YouTube thing and how do I discipline a kid for not washing his socks?
Yeah,
it's on YouTube. So it's just a totally different world than what it was from my parents brought up.
Wow.
Absolutely. Like I remember the time when you just touched upon it, like, it's like our parents, like I wouldn't say that they knew what they knew. They could not have helped more because that is what the environment taught them. Maybe they got taught by their parents the same way. And just like what you said, like, not having that kind of a conversation with the kids and what they're going through. Like I remember when I was a kid and almost during my engineering time, I underwent depression.
Mhm.
And when I underwent that, I realized that, my parents were, they acknowledged in a way that, okay, but not in a societal way, so that that we don't want to let anyone know that this guy, our child is going to a psychiatrist or anything like that. So, which is why they were more happy to put me on the medicines instead of
Yeah.
having somebody to talk with. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they were wrong or anything of that sort, but it's the societal pressure that they had so much in their mind that they just thought that, what, it's better to layer that off instead of actually, talking about it, sharing it more, and, letting the child speak up and maybe that is what he needs. But that
Yeah.
is what they, eluded me from doing that. So I think this is very much so common out there, like everywhere. Like I come from India. Like a couple of years back, I moved with my wife to Canada. And even when I was growing up and everything, if you're sad when you were a kid, what your parents or anyone would say is they wouldn't really go to the depth of understanding like what exactly is happening with you. Maybe there's a mental pressure, maybe some kind of uh, life and death situation or dreams that you're getting. They would say, okay, so let's go on a vacation, or
Mm.
why don't you have this chocolate and have fun with it or whatever. They wouldn't really go under the surface and understand like what is your problem, what are you experiencing.
But they didn't know how. Like
I'm saying.
like nowadays though, it's almost in my view of things. Like I look at my parents or your parents. I'm 43 years old, and I look at my parents and like truly they did the best they possibly could. If they wanted information, they legit had to open up an encyclopedia. My kids don't even know what a fucking encyclopedia is.
Mhm.
And like they legit had to go to a library and surf through like books to find stuff. Where nowadays we like honestly we just flip open our phone, we just type into Google, and things just pop up for us. So the access of information is so much easier. I actually think we're actually gone too far now, and we're too far the other way, where it's like, oh, you have a little headache, oh, let's go, like we're almost like too coddling on people. Like so, but we have to do a massive swing to the other way. And like mental health is a massive thing, like with what's going on in the world today with COVID, with people losing their jobs, like like there's some serious shit going on. And there's some validity to all of that. And I'm the biggest person for mental health. Like I was depressed. I had suicide thoughts. There's many days I was driving, I thought about parking my car in a fucking lamppost. And people don't understand that. But on the flip side, I also watch societies like shifting so far the other way, where it's like, like for example, everyone in school gets a fucking ribbon. Everyone. It's like, what the fuck are you teaching these kids? Like there is a win and a loss. They're going to go get a job one day and they're not going to get it. They're not going to know what to do. They're going to fucking go jump off a bridge, because we're not preparing these young kids properly, and we're not setting them up for success when they get into the real world. When you run a race, it's a competitive fucking event, and first place gets the exact same ribbon as eighth place. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we've gone like we've kind of everything's all skewed, everything's all fucked up right now. And you know, we'll align back into the middle at some point. I don't know when that point will be. You know, but back in the day, our parents legit had no resources like we do now. You know, and now it's so much normal to be talking about, you know, and still a lot of people don't do it. A lot of people are still afraid.
Right.
And you know, we still have a fucking problem in the world, but it's becoming, there's more and more avenues for people to reach out to. There's mental health lines, there's, you know, there's websites, social media, people can start doing searches to find help. You know, there are groups for people, whereas back in the day we never had that.
Yeah.
So when your mom finds out that you're depressed, to them it's like, oh my God, I've done something wrong. You know, this is going to shame the family. When they don't, you know, so then you're left on this island by yourself. Like, it's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
It's the worst part is that you can't even tell them sometimes because you're scared what their reaction will be.
Yeah.
So now you're stuck. Who do I talk to?
Totally.
So I do want to ask one thing though. Now this is going to be a little leeway from our previous discussion, but talking about current society, you know, Sas and I believe that everyone's born a genius in some way or another. But not everybody's a genius. You know, not everybody's going to be Albert Einstein. Not everyone's going to be Michelangelo, but they have some kind of genius inside them. Do you agree on that? And what is your definition of genius?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Like, everyone, when people hear the word genius, they think, oh, he's smart, and rocket scientists and the Angelos and stuff like that. When the truth is, like, you know, like, I don't know if I'd classify genius in some kind of educational platform. But I think everyone has a sense of greatness inside of them that if they can find a way to nurture it, to pull it out, to support it, to love it is probably the right phrase. You know, then that's where true happiness is. And so I would say everyone has genius in them. But what genius is for them at the end of the day, I think, is just true happiness. Because if someone's truly happy inside, and then anything's possible. They can be the best doctor, the best lawyer, the best, you know, they can put a rocket on the moon. I don't really give a shit what they do. So I think the genius is inside of them about being the best human being possible. And I think people get skewed with what that means because of social media and the likes and the followers and, you know, did so-and-so reply to my comment and such and such. I think it gets skewed by that.
Now, using that definition, this is going to be a little not throwback, but a little off question from the entire interview. Would you consider yourself a genius in that manner?
Yeah, good question. I was raving the other day that I was the smartest. I was telling my wife that I was the smartest person ever in this business yesterday. And I was in the gym. I'm like, I'm the smartest fucking person ever. Cause I had a really great day yesterday. And, you know, I increased my income like $10,000 a month yesterday.
Nice.
And yeah, it was rad. And I can't believe I came up with this idea and I tweaked it and I figured it out and spent all the day on the phone. And anyways, I created that. So yesterday I felt like a fucking genius. And, you know, I feel like a fucking genius, man. You know, like I think I cracked the code as best I possibly can to give me real happiness. And my relationship with my wife is unfucking believable. My relationship with my kids is amazing. My relationship with myself is awesome. You know, there was a time where I'd look in the mirror, for example, or I'd be on stage and I'd rock, or I'd do a podcast and I'd rock it. I'd hang up the call or I'd get off stage. I'd be like, I wasn't good enough. I didn't do that right. And where now I've come to realize that I am the best. I am the best possible version of myself in this moment in time.
Yeah.
And as long as I'm the best possible version of myself every fucking day, I'm a genius.
I agree 100%. One thing, you know, I want to touch upon as well, you mentioned was, I just hate this idea that a genius has to be on paper, academic. You got to go to school.
Dude.
All the people that I've met who have flunked school, fucked it up, dropouts, are the richest people right now I know in my society, in my circle.
Yeah.
Like multi-millionaires, massive business owners. It's crazy.
So funny story. So years ago, so I'm 43, maybe about 35, 36 years old. I get this idea. I'm like, I want to go be a realtor. Like, if I was a realtor, I'd make millions of dollars. Like, I'm so fucking good at negotiating. I'm so good at finding the houses. I know what works. I know what doesn't. So I'm like, I'm gonna go get my license. So I filled up the online whatever registration, and they're like, we need your transcripts. And I'm like, transcripts?
Okay.
I don't think I've ever got my transcripts from high school. And I'm like, so I went to college. So after I finished playing hockey, I went to work, and then I decided to go back to school. But I got in as a mature student. They didn't need my transcripts. So I was out of school for so long that they just let me back in. And so I go to get I fill out some whatever, the Edmonton Catholic School Board, and I get my transcripts. And I was on, so it was so funny. My wife is bugging me. My kids are bugging me. They're like, yeah, you didn't pass. Because I didn't go to graduation because I was playing hockey. So I have no idea if I passed. So I was 35 years old. I get my transcripts. And I get the envelope and I open it up. I'm like, seriously, I'm sweating. I don't know if I fucking passed high school. And I open it up and I have a 50 in science. I have a 50 in math. Like, I'm barely fucking passing. Like, I passed. I graduated, I guess. But it was like just bad. Like, the teachers probably passed me because they didn't want me to come back anymore. And it's just like, just get out of here. Like, I took science twice, I took math twice, and they're like, just get out of here. Anyways, so my kids, I'm watching my kids go through school now, and like, my kids go to a private hockey academy here in Kelowna called Okanagan Hockey Academy, OHA. And so when they go here, it costs a lot of money. It's like 30 grand a year to put these kids, and I got 2 kids in there. And so we set some expectations. One, you have to be the hardest working player on your team, not the best. I could give 2 shits if you get all the goals, but you need to be the hardest worker. You need to be the nicest kid on the team. I want everyone to say what a great kid you are. And 3, I want you to have a 75 to 80% average. Now, that is one that I actually don't believe in. I think the school system's fucked up. I think the pressure on kids is fucked up. I think what's happening with COVID right now and the way they're teaching is fucked up. And so my kids right now, my daughter's rocking like a 68% in science. And my wife and I were talking the other day. She's like, do you think Kenzie is stupid? Like, what the fuck? Why can't she rock an 80%? And I'm like, no, she's not. It's just not high on her priorities. It's not that she's stupid. She's just not committed to the result of science. She's committed to the result of life and being an athlete and living a healthy life and being a great human being. Like, she's committed to all this stuff. She's just not lit up by school. And I wasn't lit up by school. So I sit there and say, however, Kenzie wants to go to NCAA. Okay, my daughter wants to go to NCAA.
That's the wrestling association, right?
NCAA is college in the States.
Oh, sorry.
So she wants, she wants to go play hockey in college in the US.
All right.
And in order to get a scholarship, she needs to have a certain grade average. Like, she can't have a 3.0 GPA or whatever these things are called. And so now there's some lessons to be taught to Kenzie of, are you really committed to this outcome, which is NCAA? Because if you're really committed, you have to do things that you might not like, which is getting an 80 in science, which is digging down and being the hardest working player on your team. It's not just hockey you have to be the hardest working player on. It's the whole world that evolves around the end result of hockey. So they're really great lessons to give to the kids, because it's who are you being seen as? How do you want to be seen in the world? Do you want to be seen as someone who is only focused here and not here? And I said, unfortunately, Kenzie, at 15, 16 years old, you have no choice but to do school. You have zero choice on it. When you're 40 years old, you now have choices. I don't want to do that. I'm not doing that. Great. Don't do that. Go do that. But if you want to go here, you have to perform in all these levels. Otherwise, this doesn't happen. You need to understand the consequence of it. So, yeah, a long-winded story. I went sideways on the conversation, but I don't believe that the getting an 80% in school means you're a genius. I grew up with lots and lots and lots of people who were way, way smarter than me and got way better grades. And I feel I'm way more successful than they are on the books financially. Doesn't mean life-wise I'm more successful. They could be equally as happy being a teacher making $60,000 a year, and that's cool. Because money doesn't bring happiness. Money does not define who you are. A grade doesn't define who you are either.
Yeah, a lot of people though, relate it with money. Like if they have more success, money, that brings happiness, and that's the mistake that.
Dude, more money brings more fucking problems.
Yeah.
Like that. People don't understand that. It's just like, look at the stat of NFL football players. Something like 85, 86% of NFL football players are flat broke within 4 years of leaving the game. Basketball players, the same thing. Hockey players is a little bit less, but it's the same. They're the stats. Like money does not buy you love. It might get you a blowjob because you got to pay someone to give it to you, but that's not love.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that's what I mean. You can have all the money in the world and be a douchebag, or you can have very little money and be an authentic human, conscious human being. What do you want to be? I'd rather be this conscious human being that loves life every single day versus having all this money and not being loved.
Since we have pivoted to about life, we are almost reaching to the last segment of our podcast that is related to life, in fact. So just imagine that you are 99 years of age and everything that you have done so far in your life has just somewhere vanished. Your work, there's no record of work that you have done. What 3 pieces of advice would you give to your great grandchildren about life?
Oh, good question. Never give up. Always be your true self and spend your time finding your true self before you go make money. And find love for yourself before you find love for another. And I think that'd be the advice I'd give. Learn to love yourself. And because you can't love someone else if you don't love yourself. You won't have success. And if you do have success, if you don't love yourself, it's not real.
Absolutely.
I actually take that to heart. Thanks a lot. That does mean if no one's listening, I personally fucking took that to heart. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Well, it's a good question.
Gets you to think about life, right?
I watch people all the time and they spend all this time, worrying about making money. And I get it, that's society and things cost money. And it's so easy for people to sit there and say, oh, that's easy for you to say because you just bought we just bought a $3 million house. We're doing a $700,000 reno. I have a $230,000 boat. I have a $240,000 sports car. I got all the toys.
Right.
So it's easy for someone to sit there and say, whatever, Jared. But the truth is, I've had all the toys for a long time.
Yeah.
But I was never happy with the toys because I always wanted a new toy. I wanted something else. Because nothing brought me pleasure. Because I'd go get it and I'd be like, oh, that's not good. I'm gonna go with something bigger. Oh, that wasn't good. Go with something. Oh, that wasn't good. So I was constantly chasing because I never learned how to love anything. I'd never learned how to love myself. So ego was driving me. So I watch all these people come, with the coaching program, for example, what we do with our clients is we actually break it right down to why. Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Why are we building? Because most people come into real estate. I want to be rich. I want to have 100 properties. Well, why? What does rich mean to you? Is rich money or is rich time? Is rich a car or is rich love? What is it?
Yeah.
And what happens, what we find with our clients is after a very short period of time, they're like, I don't want 100 properties. I want 6, but I want to be able to date my husband or date my wife 3 times a week. I want to be able to take my kids to school every day. That turns into their why. And they think that they need X amount of money to do that. Well, that's not true. you need a certain mindset to know that when you're there, you're there. If you don't have the right mindset, you can be working as hard as you want and never achieve a result.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know, so it's all about mindset.
Yeah, like absolutely, like what you are talking about, and it's all again going back to the values, like understanding your values, who you are as a person, what do you really want, because that is a material want, the desire, but that is a byproduct of the things that you put inside. Like if you think about solving a problem, that would get you the money, that would get you that lifestyle, but why aren't you thinking about solving a problem? Like, and that comes by thinking about what your values are, what you truly believe in, and
Mhm.
why do you really believe them, going like 7 layer deep inside and thinking about it. So
Mhm.
like yourself, like what you said about your core values, I have 3 core values of my own too. So I have 3 C's,
Yeah,
which,
let's hear 'em.
so one says creator. So I believe that, I like to absorb, create things that matter, that makes a difference in this world. I want to make that difference, I want to make that change happen. Another core value is having connection, like you and I, like whatever we're having right now. I want to have that human connection with everyone, whoever can, touch my life, whoever I can touch somebody's life, because I believe that, together in fellowship there is a win, there is a power, and we together we can do extraordinary things together.
Mhm.
And the third one is courage. like like just like genius, there is a brave one in every one of us. We just need to find it, and once we do it, and that's how you build up the whole structure of your life. So I believe
Mhm.
that three of my values are creative, courage, and having human connections.
Yeah, I love that. That's rad. You know,
That's pretty
how
good.
did you come up? How did you come up with those?
So by the way, I'm also brand strategist.
Yeah, good.
So like I have my own branding agency. So like when we talk about branding, we go about like deep and understanding, like like whatever you were talking about, your brand is like that's the whole formation and the foundation of my brand too, and the way that I help my coaching students, or my service agents, like I say service agency, like my clients, to tell them like what are your values, because your company is an extension of what you stand for, what
Mhm.
you are. So until you don't know that, I don't want to work with you. And like you said, if I really have to work with you, you have to somewhere, relate to my core
Oh,
values. Only then I'll be
so
able to.
so someone who's listening to this podcast today and they're sitting there saying, "I need core values. Oh my God, I need core. Like this is the answer. I need core values." How do you teach them to find their core values?
See, what I would
Because they're
say.
not going to go hire you. They're not going to hire a brand specialist, a branding agency, because they just don't have the money. And people want people want free information.
Yeah.
I have my view on how they can do it, but I want to hear like what would you tell a listener? How would you go find your core values?
What I generally do with my uh, clients, or like whoever that I work with, is just go on to the level on the journey itself. Now, not just on the surface level, like going inside the journey, like thinking about the fact that how would you tell your life is about, and why would you choose that story about your life, and if you choose that, what is the why behind underneath that you chose that particular story about. So like going 7 layers deep, understanding who you are, what you want, and where do you want to be, and
Mhm.
that somewhere you will come out with certain because that's what I'm saying, it's not the surface level that we have to touch upon. We have to go what is the root behind it. Like you say
Yeah.
that I want money. Why do you need money? I need to, have cars. Why do you need cars? Because I want to show something on the society that this is what I want to have status. I have a desire. Why do you want to have desires? Because I've not had that kind of lifestyle in my life. Why didn't you have your lifestyle in your life?
Yeah.
Because my parents were not they were not rich. We never had to get money on the like food on the table. It was very hard. Why do you think it was so hard for them? Because they didn't have certain realization, because their family, like going deep,
Yeah.
understand what's your real why.
So yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. And the question is, why? What does that mean to you? What will you get from that? So what I would do is what we do with our coaching clients, because it's super important. Not all of them, but a lot of them. what more with our elite clients. I have elite clients that we do just like I literally build their portfolio for them. But with these elite clients, we'll spend time. I'll take sticky notes. I'll take like 3 or 4 different colored sticky notes, and we'll have a conversation. I want to be rich. Well, why? Mm-hmm. Because I want to buy cars. Well, what's that going to give to you? Well, it's going to give me freedom. Oh, freedom. So I'll write down. So I'll pick out the key words. I'll write down freedom. Put it on the board. Love. Put it on the board. Honesty. Put it on the board. Sex. Put it on the board. Connection. Put it on the board. I'll pull little words out, and then after an hour and a half, 2 hours, this board is lit up with all these 4 different colors. So then I'll start grouping the common things together, love and connection. Okay, well, that's kind of the same thing. Communication and truth. Well, that's kind of the same thing. So finances and trips. Well, those are kind of the same things. So then we'll start grouping stuff together. And then what I'll try to do is I'll try to summarize a word, like love. I want love, which you would call connection. So you said, I want connection. That's love. So I'm just like, but 2 different words, right? Yeah. So then it'd be like, okay, what word resonates more with you, love or connection? Yeah. Well, love resonates great. So love is one of your values, which means every time you're having a conversation with them, you're loving them. You're loving on them. You're giving them love. You're giving them unconditional feedback and unconditional love and. And if one of your things is freedom, I'm going to give you everything I possibly can, so you're free and you can go implement any strategy that you want with hopefully very few issues. So that's how I do it, is I throw all these words on the board, and then I start peeling them back, take some off. That doesn't really resonate with me. That one doesn't really resonate with me, to the point where you're down to 3 to 5. Those are your core values. And for me, that's how I would do it. And your core values probably will never change. No, they might alter a little bit. Oh yes, but really those are your core values. Like as a kid, you wanted freedom, you wanted love, I wanted love, I wanted ownership, I wanted freedom, and I wanted truth. Like as a kid, I could sit there and say those were actually my true fucking core values as a 5-year-old. I didn't know it.
There is a very good study by Carl Jung. He has divided every human, like if we are 7 billion people on this planet, we all have, like in totality, there are 12 different segments we all could be divided into. We could be either explorers, we could be heroes, we could be creators, we could be, every man, like having human connections and all that stuff. And once you start finding your tribe, when you start finding like what segment and category that you belong to, you start associating with those subsets of that particular thing. And that's how I break down in my courses also, like talking about it, like giving them whole picture out there. This is what, these are the different segments of categories. Where do you find more, connection with? Is it that you think that you think that you are a sage that who likes to, give education, impart education, get knowledge, absorb and, give it out to people, just like any sage? Or are you the kind of a person who, like you find that you relate a lot with being a brave, like a hero? And if you think about on a branding sense of the things also, a lot of brands have these kind of not human brands, but like companies like Harley Davidson. It represents outlaw, like you're banished, like the people who don't want to be, who don't, get along with most people. You are different, and they are good to be different. That's why Harley Davidson came into the picture, and it's a $1 billion company, because it's talking to those people who believe in that kind of a story. And
totally got it.
So it's really very interesting. Anyways, Jared, it was amazing conversation, and I think even 1 hour wasn't enough for. You really bring a lot to think about and lots of value on the table. We should definitely do it, and I would love to have we would definitely love to have your wife also sometime on the podcast.
Oh my God, you want to see, like, Krista is like this beautiful human being. Like her you know, and I'm biased. She's my wife, but I've had lots of personal coaches. You know, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on coaching, and Krista is her ability to listen and give, you know, I don't want to say manipulate, but she takes you down this path of realizing shit yourself. You know, whereas I go down the path of, no, do this, do this, do this, do this. She'll go down the path of, she'll let you go down the path and let you feel it and experience it, so you come up with your answer yourself. And Chris would blow you guys away. You guys would love Chris. She's a beautiful human being and one of the best coaches I've ever had. And she I tell her all the time not to coach me, because every coach we've ever had says don't coach your partner. But she has this subtle way of just getting through to me. And I'm pretty, you know, set in my ways sometimes, but she's rad. You guys would love her.
Love it.
Awesome.
Would love to have her on the show next time. Anyways, Jared, any last thoughts, and where can people find you, and anything that you want to share?
Yeah, so man, I love being on the show. Like, I think mental health is something that needs to be talked about way more than it is, and especially what's going on in our world today with COVID. You know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all, but when there's so much vagueness, it's so easy to get caught down the rabbit hole. And, you know, people are legit losing their jobs and losing their livelihoods. And I think what we're going through right now is generational. And I share this all the time with people is, you know, like, my dad is 71 years old. And if I lose my dad, you know, he's had a heart attack, he's diabetic, high blood pressure, he's overweight. You know, so my dad's a legit candidate of dying from COVID. And whether you believe in COVID or not, it doesn't really matter. COVID is real. You know, like, it is a legit shit. But if my dad dies, I'm 43 years old, it stops with me. And, you know, it sucks, but a few weeks later, I'll be fine. Whereas what's happening in our world right now with mental health, kids are now watching their parents suffer. Kids are watching their parents drink. Kids are watching their parents struggle to pay bills. Kids become their parents.
Yeah.
And what's happening in our world right now is fucking generational. It's going to take generations to correct, because those kids are learning all of this shit, all the stresses, wear masks and don't talk. Like, we've lost the sense of a fucking smile.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's sad. Yeah. And, you know, so I just want everyone, I guess the last message would be to just really pay attention and really love and really fucking, if you need help, ask for help. If you know, there's resources out there, reach out, because what's happening in our world is fucked up. And this has nothing to do with COVID real. I don't care about that. It's the impact of these kids, and that is now going to impact their kids and their kids, and so on and so on. So that would be my parting words. You can find me at I got two websites. One is tiltgroup.ca, and then our coaching page is jkcoaching.ca. You know, follow us on Instagram and Twitter. I don't do Twitter. I don't like Twitter. Ever since Trump left Twitter, I don't go on it anymore. I'm totally kidding. I was never on Twitter. But Instagram is the Jared Hope. And then we have Jared and Krista, which is our coaching. And then same thing with Facebook.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for sharing your story, Jared, and opening up. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of value from what you shared.
Yeah, no, guys, thanks for having me. I think it needs to be talked about more. I think you guys are doing a great job. Congrats.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jared.
Yeah.
All right, Jared. Have a good week.
Yeah, take it easy, guys.